Kennedy. At this point, I want to recognize the following dignitaries. Please stand up or step forward when I call your name. Senator Ryan Fatman. State Representative Brian Murray. Chairman of the Board, Selectman William Kincaid. Selectman Michael Walsh. And unfortunately, Selectman Bill Buckley and Congressman Joseph Kennedy were unable to attend today's ceremony. I also want to recognize and honored to introduce Brigadier General Francis B. McGurn. In attendance also is James Weber, American Legion Post 59.
Okay, President Mary Monroy, American Legion Auxiliary, Unit 59. Stephen Priest, Disabled American Veterans, Chapter 6. Eric Bassiti, Grand Marshal, Italian American War. Steve Petak, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 15.4. Today's program, it's going to include the Missing Man Table Ceremony, the presentation of the Medal of Liberty, remarks by the Board of Selectmen Chairman Will Kincaid, and various, well, we won't have various musical selections by the Milford High School Band, but we're going to have a quartet and taps played by the Milford High School Band. At this point, I'd like to introduce Father Mateos to lead us off with a prayer.
God of peace, we pray for those who have served our nation and have laid down their lives to protect and defend our freedom. We pray for those who have fought, whose spirits and bodies are scared by war, whose nights are haunted by memories too painful for the light of day. We pray for those who serve us now, especially for those in harm's way. Shield them from danger and bring them home. Turn the hearts and minds of our leaders and our enemies to the work of justice and the harvest of peace. May the peace you left us, the peace you gave us, be the peace that sustains, the peace that saves us. Lord Jesus, hear our prayer. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. Father Mateos from St. Mary's Parish and the Milford Police Chaplain. Now I'd like to bring forward Brigadier General Francis B. McGurn to say a few words.
Well, good morning, everybody here in Milford. It's truly a pleasure to be among a community that takes the honor and tribute that many people take for granted, that is obligated, from my perspective, for Veterans Day so seriously and so deeply to heart. It's obvious from the turnout at the parade, the conduct of the parade, and your presence here, that this community spirit runs deep. And I won't cast aspersions and say it's not like that anywhere, but you recognize it in large quantities when you see it, and certainly the heart of this community is on display today. I want to just briefly talk about the Medal of Liberty. You know, it was a few years ago that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, through legislation, developed the Medal of Liberty along with the Massachusetts National Guard. And we worked hard to get the word out among our veterans community. The medal is awarded to family members of those who are lost in action. Fairly simple and tragic, but specific requirements. And we saw a little bit of activity, and then it tapered off a little, and we went out and started really trying to get the word out among the VSOs with some success. But recently I met Peter and Vince and Jerry, who here in this town took it upon themselves to make it a mark of the community's commitment to these people, did the research, and here we are today to celebrate 8 of these family members, or to honor, I should say, 8 of these family members. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. My boss, General Keith, the Adjutant General of Massachusetts, everywhere he goes, he tries to tell the story about the medal. But like any endeavor, any team sport, if you will, there's always the people behind the scenes that make it happen. A little known element among our agency, the Mass National Guard, is our military records division. Right here in Milford, the last vestige of the Guard here in Milford. And a couple of those folks have joined us today, Mr. Mike Perna and Karen Vellani. I have a co-worker who's not here, but oh, there she is, Jerry. I'm sorry, I think you slipped up. Jerry Kincaid of the Kincaids that from Milford. But every day they treat the records and basically the administrative history of each and every veteran here in the Commonwealth with the honor and dignity, and with a great deal of efficiency as well. So I just thought I'd mention that. So to Milford, thank you very much for including me in this tremendous outpouring of honor. And to each of our veterans, thank you for serving, particularly our Vietnam veterans who are coming through the end of the 50th commemoration. And my mom always told me it's never too late to say thank you. So to those Vietnam veterans here in the room, thank you and welcome home.
Thank you, General. Following last year's Memorial Day flag installation, Vinnie Civizzari approached me and asked if we could get together and research the Milford Killed in Action soldiers with Citizens for Milford's help. So we created a Medal of Liberty subcommittee, and as a result, our committee was created, including myself, Vinnie Civizzari, Major U.S. Army retired, Matty Vinziano, Jr., Seaman, U.S. Navy, Vietnam veteran, assigned Mobile Riverine Force, Mekong Delta. Matty is also a former junior and senior vice commander of the Italian American Veterans. And Joanne DeMaria Morgan, who's not with us today, she was unable to make it, but she's a Milford educator over 30 years and long supporter of veterans and their families, and past president of the American Legion Unit 59, and past Worcester City Director of the American Legion Auxiliary. And I thank my colleagues for all their hard work. Unfortunately, Joanne's not here, but all 4 of us are Milfordians. We grew up in Milford, in our town, and we're proud to be here today honoring our heroes. During our subcommittee meetings, Vinnie also introduced us to the Missing Man table presentation. So, at this point, I'm going to hand this over to Vinnie to narrate and explain the Missing Man ceremony.
We call your attention to this small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It is being set for one, symbolizing the fact that the members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. They are referred to POWs, MIAs, and KIAs. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families. So we join together to pay our humble tribute to them and to bear witness to their continued absence. The table is round, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his or her suppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The table is being set for one, symbolizing the frailty of the prisoner alone, and also one person who's no longer with us. The yellow ribbon on the vase represents the yellow ribbon worn on the lapels of thousands who demand with unyielding determination a proper count of our comrades who are not among us. The single rose in the vase signifies the blood they may have shed in sacrifice to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep faith while awaiting their return. The slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of their bitter fate, those captured and missing or no longer with us, killed in action in a foreign land. The salt being sprinkled on the plate is to remind us of the countless tears of those who may never come home, and the tears of their families and friends whose grief knows no end. The Bible serves to remind us of their comfort of faith offered to those who face seemingly unsurmountable challenges, and it also reminds us of our country being founded on the principle of one nation under God. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this day or tonight. The candle is reminiscent of a light of hope, which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors, to the open arms of grateful union. Thank you.
Peter said no long speeches. All right, how many people have heard of the Medal of Liberty? Anybody, just raise your hand. It's amazing that the word hasn't gotten out. It's not surprising. Up until this year, I never had heard of it either. And ever since I joined the committee, all the people I've talked to have never heard of it. When Peter, Vinny, and I went up to Hanscom Field and meet with the general last week, and his team that handles approval of the medals, Jacqueline Aguiar, I don't think Jackie's here, is she? And Tim Cullen. General McGurn is the Assistant Adjutant General of the Mass National Guard. In talking with them, we learned that since 2010, only 216 of these medals have been given out to the families of the veterans. So in 7 years, only 216 medals have been given out, but ever since our Medal of Liberty Committee began in July, we have submitted 36 applications for approval. So just from the little town of Milford, almost 18% of the medals that they got at Hanscom Field were sent in by us. So what is the Medal of Liberty? In the year 2010, the government of the state of Massachusetts passed a general law, Chapter 33, Section 67A, sponsored by Representative Garrett Bradley of the 3rd Plymouth District. It states, there shall be a Medal of Liberty awarded to the next of kin of servicemen and women from the Commonwealth that were killed in action or died in service while in a designated combat area in the line of duty. The medal is heart-shaped. I think we got one here. Similar to a purple heart. The medal is it's heart-shaped with a gold border. The center of the medal bears a gold star, and the top of the medal has the coat of arms of the Commonwealth. On the reverse of the medal is the insignia of the service member's branch of service and the inscription, in honored memory and service and sacrifice. It is awarded by the Governor of the Commonwealth, Charles D. Baker, Major General Gary W. Keith, the Adjutant General of the Massachusetts National Guard. This is certainly one case where the state of Massachusetts got it right. So I'm truly honored to be a part of this ceremony today. While I don't know all of the heroes we are honoring, I do have a connection to a few of them and their families. Gene Cormier was a friend growing up in the hood of the Plains, and his brother Edmund is here today to accept his medal. Let's just say that Gene and I shared more than one or two black eyes together. Gene was a few years older than me, so I'm sure after all the votes were counted, I probably ended up with a few more than him, because my left hook took a couple more years to develop. David St. John, I met in high school. He was a gentle giant. His younger sister, Linda, is with us today to accept his medal. She went on to marry a very dear friend of mine, the late Michael Mastriani. Their oldest son, Michael, was attached to a military police company, 1st Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group, and served in Afghanistan. He is also one of Milford's finest. Milford police officer. So her family continues to protect us almost 50 years after she lost her brother. I knew the Lanzetta family growing up in the Plains, but I got to know them a lot better after I came home from the tropical paradise of Southeast Asia. I became a member of the Italian-American War Veterans, and Saturday afternoons were spent telling stories over 10-cent Narragansetts. This is where I learned that Alfred and his brother, the late Joseph Windy Lanzetta, lost their brother Jerry in World War II. Alfred is not here with us today, but his son is here today to accept the medal for his uncle. I'm going to screw it up. Elia Fontecchio was lost in the Iraqi Freedom War, and he is the last member of today's group to be honored. I didn't know Elia personally, but I went to school with his father, Dennis, who was also a Marine and served in Vietnam. Luckily, Dennis was returned to us unharmed. Dennis and his wife, Cindy, came all the way up from Florida to accept this medal in Neil's memory today. So on this Veterans Day, we take a moment to remember all those that were lost. Their sacrifice allows us to enjoy the many freedoms we enjoy today. But this Veterans Day will be a little different. This year, we will attach the name of a veteran and ask his next of kin to come up and accept this Medal of Liberty in his honored memory. It's certainly long overdue, but finally time for the families to be recognized for their loss. As this presentation takes place today, please take a moment and think of the commitment that these and all veterans make when they sign that blank check. To support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign or domestic. In essence, and if need be, to give up his life to preserve yours. That in itself is a pretty powerful statement in any language. I remember a quote from a few years ago. I thought it began in Vietnam, but I've seen several different versions out there, so I won't attach it to anyone in particular. For those that will fight for it, freedom has a flavor the protected will never know. This is why we honor these men and their families today. Okay, Peter.
Thank you, Manny. Nice job.
Assist us today with the presentation of medals is Anthony P. Parenti, Master Sergeant, United States Army, retired, also two-time veteran of Iraqi freedom.
Thank you, Maddie and Vinny, and thank you for all your work with this ceremony. In addition, today we have medals from Congressman Joseph Kennedy that'll be handed out by Vinnie. We have citations from the Senate that'll be handed out by Senator Ryan Fatman to our next of kin. And from the House of Representatives, citations will be handed to the next of kin by State Representative Brian Murray. Brigadier General Francis McGurn will hand out the citations from Governor Baker. We have 8 medals to be presented to the next of kin of Milford's fallen heroes. The goal of our subcommittee is to research all 57 heroes killed in action during World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and Iraqi freedom, and to identify the next of kin. At this point in our research, there are 19 remaining killed in action Milford heroes whose next of kin we still have to identify. And the names of those that we are still researching for the next of kin, they're going to be posted on the Citizens for Milford website and our Facebook page. So we're asking if anyone can help us refer, if you can, please refer to those pages and see if you can recognize the names and if you're aware of any next of kin that we can contact to receive the rest of these medals. Future presentations will be announced in the near future so we can distribute the remaining medals of liberty. Now, the way this will work is I'll announce the Milford serviceman killed in action. I'll ring a bell, followed by a moment of silence. I'll then call the next of kin to receive the Medal of Liberty from Maddie, along with receiving the citations handed out by Vinnie, Tony, Ryan, Brian, and I'd be honored to shake your hand as well. So, I'll start with Private E2 Rudolfino, U.S. Army, who's the first Milford man killed in action. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of Rudolph is his cousin, Mr. Joseph Fino.
So please accept this Medal of Liberty in honored memory of your uncle, your cousin, Rudolph Fino.
You're honored to accept this, but Rudolph does have a legislative system. So really, he's in his role. I will gladly pass this on to secretary.
Good. I understand. And that's a certificate for you too.
It's my honor to present this to you on behalf of Charlie Baker in honor of your percentage Rudolph Taylor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is from the House of Representatives. Thank you for the sacrifice of your family.
Next is Sergeant Edward C. Bagnoli, U.S. Army, World War II. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of Edward is his nephew, Mr. Edward Bagnoli.
Please accept this Medal of Liberty in honored memory of your uncle.
My uncle,
Very proud to be able to present this certificate on behalf of the Governor Baker and in honor of your relative, Evan Williams.
Next is Private Eugene F. Cormier, Marine Corps, Vietnam. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of Eugene is his brother, Mr. Edmund Cormier.
I want to thank all those involved. Truly a lot of good work. I appreciate that.
So I wanted to present this on behalf of the governor in honor of your relative, Eugene Cormier.
Master Sergeant Robert J. Gritty, U.S. Army, Vietnam. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of Robert is his niece, Mrs. Sheila Anderson. Sergeant Edward E. Anatelli, U.S. Army, World War II. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of Edward is his nephew, Edward Arminio. Private Jerry R. Lanzetta, U.S. Army, World War II. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of Jerry is Mr. Alfred Lanzetta, nephew. and Alfred is also a Vietnam veteran. Lance Corporal David M. St. John, Marine Corps, Vietnam. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of David is his sister, Linda Mastriani. Gunnery Sergeant Elia P. Fontecchio, Marine Corps, Iraqi Freedom. Elia is the last Milfordian hero killed in action. Accepting the Medal of Liberty on behalf of Elia is his father, Mr. Dennis Fontecchio.
Very welcome.
Dennis is also a Vietnam veteran. I was also reminded to recognize Mr. Arthur Russo, World War II veteran, and this year is his 100-year birthday. Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Will Kincaid, would like to say a few words. Will?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually very moved by this today, so you'll have to excuse me. I just wanted to say that my colleague, Mike Walsh, and I, as we walked through the parade route today, we were talking about all the things that make this town special, because it's a great town and we love it. And this is just another aspect that we're so proud of, and honoring 8 families. My father was a Vietnam vet, he didn't talk about it. My mother would fill me in on most of the details. And that was a generation that witnessed lose their family and their friends. And in my generation, we didn't experience that until it happened to Elia. He was a year older than me in high school. And just a great guy, and it sent shockwaves, not just through the town because he came from a wonderful family, but it was the first time that my generation was affected by that. And whether he was on the field or on stage, he was nice to everyone, and that was way before it was popular. So I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you for allowing me to say hello. The Medical Records Department, I'm sorry, that's our old life, the Military Records Department, that's still in Milford. I've heard so much about this award because of my mother, so I'm biased. And General, thank you so much for coming. This is just a huge deal, and it helps us honor our 8 heroes today, so thank you.
At this time, I believe we have a quartet from the Milford High School Band who will treat us with the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So I want to thank band leader Nadine Pomeroy, director of music, assistant band director Jill Baudet, and Jason Smiagino. That anthem was performed by Emily Fry, Maddie Miaris, Tadiwa Chitonga, and Charlie Lisinski. So thank you. Steve Treadle, are you here? Okay, now I want to turn this over to Steve Treadle, who's a First Lieutenant, U.S. Army Infantry Division veteran, Chairman of Citizens for Milford, and thank you, CFM, for being extremely helpful with this program.
You know, when you take on something like this, as we did with Citizens for Milford, you never know where it's going to go. And this has taken on a life of its own. So, as a personal note, and as well as myself, I have been profoundly moved today by the honor and tribute given to these citizens of Milford who made the supreme sacrifice for us, by the families who lost these unselfish patriots, and by the amazing folks and stories that I heard as I walked through the field of flags, reading the names and service records of our Milford heroes who served us so unselfishly. And my thanks goes to you folks who are here to honor our fellow citizens who served us. A ceremony like this takes a huge effort to make happen. So thank you to all the Citizens for Milford volunteers who set the flags, developed and attached the service records and pictures, who set up these facilities and will do so 5 more times this year. And thank you to our senator, our representative, and our selectmen for honoring the veterans which are present here today, and the general. And now, with our closing tribute, To our brothers killed in action for us, we honor you with the ultimate caps given by the Milford High School band.
Thank you.